Hey buddies, I'm Spuggy here, coming at you in another Borderlands 3 video. Today I want to show you this amazing combo with Flak that allows you to essentially get 300% more weapon damage at all times, and it's a very easy setup. And to show you the real power of this setup, I'm just going to real quick speed kill Grave Ward with this setup, just so I can prove to you how good this setup is. And it only takes like a couple of things to really do that. And personally, I know that might have not been too impressive, but whenever I play Flak, I feel like his bossing capability isn't that good. So I always was really impressed being able to kill him this quickly with this particular setup. But pretty much what we're doing is actually a setup that is very underutilized for Flak. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You have no idea how much it helps me out. And let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
So first things first, there's going to be a bit of a weird skill tree for this setup. When I show you the skill tree, you guys are not gonna like it. It's not something you normally see on Flak. So I'm gonna right quick show you right here. This is disgusting. Now, nobody ever usually doesn't get the power inside or the fast and furious with Flak, but this setup unfortunately doesn't have enough skill points for us to use that. But then we go to red, so we have a normal red tree, and then the normal persistent hunter with our fade away. Now the interesting part is the purple tree. Now the purple tree is arguably the worst skill tree in the game, but it has a particular ability that I've used in the past for messy breakup to allow us to deal tons and tons of damage with our pet. But the fuzzy math ability does allow us as Flak to use a particular setup with a certain shield roll to deal lots and lots of damage. So for these who don't know, fuzzy math right here, when you hit a critical or your pet hits a critical, you're going to heal 15% of your max shield. Now that's very important because what we're going to be using is a double amp Infernal Wish. Now the Infernal Wish will then double our projectile. We're only using single pellet guns to utilize this as much as possible. Now when it does double our projectiles, fortunately the amp part of this Infernal Wish allows you to make all the shots that are shot out of it amped. Now for some of you that don't know, amp shields that are dedicated for amp damage, aka like the rerouter, it does one shot from your gun and then puts it back into your HP, but that one shot is only for one pellet. If you have a multi-pellet gun or any setup that increases your pellets, you're going to notice that only one pellet is going to get the increased amp damage. But if you have an amp roll on a shield, it's generic amp, which means it applies to every single pellet. And because we're using Infernal Wish, that means not only does our gun now deal 2 times damage because it's shooting on the projectile, but it's also getting the 50% weapon damage amp on both pellets, and sometimes even 3 because of Flak skill tree. But let's go over to Sanctuary so I can show you a little bit more in depth on what I'm talking about here. Because when killing Grave Ward, you didn't really get that good of a chance to really look at what's happening. Now by our Sanctuary, every single time we shoot when we have full shields, it's going to get rid of 25% of shields. Now the reason why 5 fuzzy math is essential, because 5 fuzzy math gives us 15% of our max shield back whenever we score a critical. Now unfortunately this has a very short cooldown of, I believe, 0.5 seconds to proc in between, but I feel like it procs a little bit quicker than that because it feels like it procs a lot faster. Now, unfortunately, required to get 5 points in the fuzzy math, because if we had 4 points, it's only going to give 12%. That means we have to then hit a crit 3 times or in turn us to get the amp damage again. So to utilize this as best as possible, we're going to have to get 5 points in the fuzzy math, which means that we're going to have to unfortunately not use as many skill points for other skills in the tree that's normally used for Flak. The difference makes up for it as well for survivability's sake. Because of this, if you look at my bottom left of my shield, you'll notice that as I'm shooting Handsome Jack, my shield goes down and up constantly because I'm hitting him with fuzzy math. That means I am getting my shield back, and every single time I'm shooting with full shield, I'm then in turn also getting amp shot damage, which is very, very good. And you'll see here as I'm shooting, you'll see some of these are amp shot damage, and you'll see them flying all over the place. This allows for a consistent 3 times more damage on all single pellet guns, which is very, very nice. I'm personally using the Lucian Call because Lucian Call is a very solid Flak weapon. Now, if I were to showcase this a little bit better, I would honestly say that it's more of a mobbing choice, because not only does it allow you to give survivability and stuff like that, sure, it helps with bosses, but because of the fact that we're Flak and we're using guns like this, it allows us to deal lots and lots of damage with mobbing because we're ricocheting bullets everywhere. Now let me go over to the Malawan takedown and equip my favorite loader real quick so we can see this build more in action. And this is Lucian Call. I'm using it to max damage Lucian Call with action skill and bonus shock damage, so we can deal 1 fire damage and shock. If you have fire and shock on a build, you're pretty much going to be set for most cases in the game because it's usually shield or flesh. Some takedowns there's going to be armored enemies, but usually I feel like fire and shock is the best, but that's a tangent for another video. And of course I'm using a bounty hunter class mod to increase the damage as well. But let's go over to the Malawan takedown so I can show this more in action in the mobbing showcase, because it is really good setup and it allows you to have lots of survivability because their shields are constantly getting increased, and also allows your pet to survive very easily as well. One thing before I actually show it on the Malawan takedown, I want to give full transparency on this build. Due to the fact that we're getting that 3x multiplier and stuff, we are unfortunately losing out on some perks that would increase our burst damage more. If we were to reroute this build, not use fuzzy math, just use Infernal Wish like this, normal setup, when you activate your action skill, you're going to deal more damage overall than you would without the action skill. This damage does one decent on action skill, but it's primarily going to allow you consistent damage outside of your burst window fade away. So that's a nice perk right there. You're going to get that bonus increase no matter what, because Power Within is something you activate on your action skill. Sure, it lasts for 15 seconds, so you could in theory say that you have a constant uptime, but this is also a constant uptime that's very comparable to that bonus right there. Now personally, when I do this setup, my computer does lag because there's lots of bullets ricocheting everywhere, and my graphics card is not honestly too good, but it is still a very fun build to do nevertheless. As you see here, while we're shooting these guys, we're going to get the amp damage every once in a while. And if you saw it in the very corner there, our shield is then in turn also given to our pet, which also gets the amp damage if they have a gun. So jabbers and loaders will get that bonus amp damage as well, which is very nice. So I could pretty much just hold down my left click button and we're going to get that bonus increased damage at all times, which is very nice. The only bad thing about this build is that when we deal with immunities, we can't deal too much damage with it, but luckily we can use it as kind of our ties that bind sort of and make all the bullets ricochet off him and hit other enemies, because the only time our damage is going to falter is when there's some immunities that we can't hit. But as you see here, we're able to kill these guys very easily otherwise. So let's go kill Kraken real quick. Let me make sure I have my appropriate things. And Kraken's going to get down really easily in just a few seconds here. Even if he's not, you'll see all the other guys are getting shot and then in turn also getting hollow point, which then in turn also deals lots of damage. As I said, the burst window on this build is not too great. It's more of a constant increased damage. And these shield buggers are always a problem for me. I always die off of them, but it's more of a constant damage increase as opposed to a burst window. Power Within allows us to have more of a burst window. If we had Power Within, that Kraken would have died a lot quicker, I would say, than we have our current setup. And those shield buggers always always doing something to me. They're always messing me up. But let's go kill the Valkyrie Squad real quick, just so I can keep showing you how fun this setup is. And due to the fact that we're restoring our shield so fast, we then in turn also get some good survivability, which is much needed on Flak, because he doesn't have any dedicated lifesteal perks as all the other characters does. And before we actually go to the Valkyrie Squad, I want to give credit where credit is due. I actually had our Discord user, Moze Zane Builds, which I'll probably show on the screen in a few moments here, as well as a few other Discord members suggested this as well. But Mobs is the first one that actually got me really interested in the setup. His profile should be on the screen right now, but this is the dude. He's a great dude in the Discord. He's very nice, and he suggested this fantastic idea with the constant amp damage. So if you're gonna thank anybody, make sure to thank him in the comments. But as I said, our burst damage isn't too large with our setup, but we're still able to deal decent damage right there. Valkyrie Squad sometimes is a lot quicker than that at the first phase, but still we're able to kill them fairly quickly. Now the cool thing about this build, as I said, Amnesium now is the mobbing. You'll see all the mobs around us die really quickly. Now these guys are armored targets, so they're not dying as quickly as we've seen with other setups, but it still is killing these guys fairly quickly and quickly enough to deal surprising damage and get the Valkyrie Squad first member come down and get wrecked real quickly. And then we're going to deal with these guys. These guys are flesh targets, so they're more of our style. I like to focus on a badass because then, once again, kind of like ties that bind setup, because you're going to see that all the bullets are going to ricochet off of him and just hit all the guys around him. Sometimes proc hollow point, which, you know, It's just crazy damage. If you want a more in-depth video on that, definitely check out B Flatten's YouTube channel on that, because he's done an excellent job of explaining that. And these shield guys always gets me, especially on Flak they get me. I'm not sure why, but we're still able to take them down. Of course, we also have Fish Slap to deal some decent damage as well, which I don't like to throw too much, because the main focus of this build, of course, is the guns and the constant amp damage, so we're not really going to keep throwing those out. But right there, we just did a huge hollow point damage. All the Valkyrie squads are down, which means that we can just ricochet all the bullets to each other, which means that we can target one and the other ones will in proxy take lots of damage. And right there, we just killed them very fast. And I just really love the setup. This extra survivability besides from the shield bros is very nice. It's not something you normally see on Flak, and it's a nice trade-off to the normal skill tree building that you normally go for. The other items I'm using in this build is Rowan's Call, Lucian's Call, the Pearl, Bounty Hunter, Fish Slap, and Equalizer, and the Infernal Wish. Once again, here's my skill tree. And once again, huge thanks to our members on the YouTube that makes this stuff possible. Galaxy is a wonderful member, not only on our YouTube, but our Discord. Becoming a member pretty much just allows you to support me a little bit further, and will eventually allow me to go full-time on YouTube so I can keep making videos for you guys. But thank you very much for all the members who are already members. If you guys want to become a member, there's a link in the comments and description, as well on the top right. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him out with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. More in a cave with a torch on a wall than a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.